Good afternoon. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is Breaking Free. And we come together each and every Monday to experience hope and freedom and inspiration and lessons learned and all kinds of stuff. So I'm so happy to have you join us today. It's a beautiful day in our neighborhood. It's raining, so that's a good thing. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. This is Amnon, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
He's our producer. You doing all right?
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
You didn't melt out there.
Did not melt. I'm wearing boots for the first time all year, but, because it's so wet. So wet.
I know. I'm ready for some sun.
Oh, my gosh. Crazy weather.
Yeah, but it's all right.
It's all right.
We need the rain, too.
So you're doing all right?
Doing fine.
Yeah,
and you had
I have a new baby.
happy week.
Yes, I have a new baby grandson who is adorable and sweet. He's like teeny tiny. I have another grandson who's 2.5 who is not so is little, but he's cute and smart, and so I'm having fun with my grandchildren.
Good.
Who knew?
Hey, it's time now for you.
Who knew? I know, it's my time in my life, right?
Absolutely.
So, I love stories, and I have loved stories for I would think, for a very long time. For me, it's been like, 11, 12 years I have been fascinated by people's stories. And what got me started was many years ago I was watching Oprah, and she had on 3 different unique people who had shared their life stories and things that they had accomplished, businesses that they had created based on their personal need. And one of them was this woman who sat down on the floor with her children. They were wearing those Crocs. They had all the holes in the shoes, and they were finding things. They were just playing. They were finding things to put in the shoes. And the kids went to school, and everybody loved their shoes and loved what they were putting in and wanted them to, do it for them. So they developed this company, and it was like millions and millions of dollars worth of business. And today I think I have something very similar to share with you. I have a lovely young woman, who was inspired by her own daughter to create a line of children's clothing. And she is a self-taught clothing designer, and she has a flair for color and design, and she put that to really great use. And I want to introduce her to you today, Elle Parkinson, and the name of her line of clothing is Rosie Olive Designs, and she is really cool. So let me welcome Elle here today. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, honey?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. I'm glad to have you, and I'm sorry we couldn't get you on video, but we have a picture of you anyway.
Thank you. I'm sorry we couldn't make the connection via Skype.
That's all right, but we'll have you back on again. How about that?
Awesome.
Cool.
Sounds great.
So in your personal words, better than my words, in your personal words, can you share your story and how you got started? Because these are the kinds of stories that inspire other people to do something different, similar, but something nonetheless. So go ahead and share your story.
Oh, goodness. It really started when I was in 5th grade. I wanted to have different clothes, something unique, something different, but didn't really know how to go about it. So I would sketch out stuff in my art pads, and that kind of started my whole love for fashion. Then I got involved with theater, and I got to see how it was backstage and working with crews. But I even designed jewelry. I ended up going to school to work with children. And after our daughter was born, that's when I really got to bring my love and passion for design to the forefront. She was really long and narrow, and we couldn't find jeans that were long enough but fit in the waist, or shorts were too short. I wanted something classic and fun, yet with a modern twist to it.
Okay, Elle, before you go on, let's just just say one thing. So your clothing line is where?
In Belk.
Okay.
So I'm currently selling at Belk department store. It's in now 28 different stores. We sold out online a few weeks ago, and we sold out at the Crabtree location and at South Point a few weeks ago.
Okay, so that's
But
North Carolina, right?
It's in North Carolina. I'm in South Carolina, Virginia, Alabama, Mississippi. Their new flagship store at the Galleria in Dallas, Texas. I've been in a few different states in Florida. So it's a little bit crazy to know that Rosie Olive is kind of spread out through the Southeast.
Okay, because I want everybody to know that, I mean, there's a success story here as well. So she's going to give us the background information, but I want you to know where it's leading to. So she is manufacturing, she is in stores, she is, designing and in retail operations. So go ahead with the rest of your story. I just want to make sure people, knew that part.
Thank you. So to kind of fast forward, we had Olive she was about 15 months old, and I started, I asked my mom to borrow her old sewing machine and the handbook that goes with it. I then stayed up for hours one night, and I was just sewing away, following the steps through there. And then the next thing you know, at a play date with a girlfriend from high school, and one of her friends was like, "Oh, I love that dress. I'd love to get one of those for a baby shower gift." Well, lo and behold, that very first order turned into 4 dresses ordered then, and then 2 more to follow. And they became some of my most loyal customers. They spread the word, and it's just been such an honor to share the story with them, because without the push from my dear friends, I wouldn't have the success that I do now. And a girlfriend of mine, she said, somebody entered this Southern Designer Showcase contest, and they got their stuff put in at bulk. You should really think about doing it and entering children's wear. And I said, I haven't been sewing long enough. I've only been sewing about 1.5 years. I'm self-taught. There's no way. Well, after being pushed by my family and by customers, I decided if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all out. So I decided to design my own prints, create fun new silhouettes, and read up on this submission for the Southern Designer Showcase. I had about 3 weeks to do it, and I did it. I pulled some all-nighters and created a fun collection. The original collection had 10 pieces in it.
Wow. So let's back up so people can understand this. And please feel free if you want to, contact us, and we'd love to have you call in at 919-518-9773. If you want to talk to Elle yourself, if you have, some burning desire to be doing something similar, or even if it's a little different, but you want some advice, this is the time to get it. You can also contact us on computers, that's plural, 2K Voice, and you can come in on Skype Voice. We'd love to have you there, and feel free to join our chat if you like. You can put your name right there next to the video and sign your name, and the chat will open up, and you can ask questions there as well. So let's back up a minute. So you were kind of sewing. You learned how to sew, and
I taught myself how to sew. Yep.
And you were just as you did it for your little girl, and then friends started seeing it, just like the Croc Lady, and started seeing your designs and wanting them. So you started making them for friends, right? And then somebody suggested that you go ahead and enter into this contest. And so you said, okay, good, I'm going to do that. That's what I love about the story is you didn't like hem and hoy and go, no, you didn't have any time for that. There was an urgency, right? There was an urgency about what you needed to do. Okay, great. And you went ahead and so you designed your own fabric. I mean, you could have gone and bought, other fabric. What was the difference in designing your own fabric as opposed to just going and using somebody else's fabric with your designs?
Like I was saying earlier, part of the reason I even wanted to get into designing clothing is because I just got tired of seeing the same old prints, just in different colors, or the same colors, just on a different silhouette. I wanted something new and fresh and innovative. I wanted to be able to tie my inspiration, which is Olive, into every piece. possible. So one of my prints is an owl. And instead of using feathers, I wrote Olive's name in cursive. And her name in cursive has become a huge staple in the Rosie Olive brand and in the collection that's at Belk. The eyes are actually olives instead of regular eyes. The little beak on the owl is stitched. And it was a lot of fun creating that and drawing inspiration from growing up here in North Carolina and seeing like little birds sitting on the power lines. But instead of doing just birds sitting on power lines, I have birds sitting on the olive signature. And it brought a new twist and a new spin to that. And hearing the feedback from parents and from little girls wearing the clothes and how much fun they think it is has been crazy. But I had 3 weeks to do this, and so I did it. I figured if I'm going to do it, go all out and do it, not go and pick fabric out of a store. Anybody can go over to Joann's and go pick a print. Granted, I do use fabric from lots of different locations. There's awesome prints out there. But for it to be a collection that symbolized what it meant growing up in the South, and which is a lot about family unity and little girls being little girls and not growing up too fast, and about that sweet mother-daughter connection that's out there. That's what I want to bring forward with my collection with this print.
Okay, so I have lots of questions for you. I have lots of questions. So
awesome.
So one of the things that I'm getting is each of your pieces tell a story.
Yes.
And do people know this about your clothing line, that it's so inspired by your daughter, that the eyes would be hers, that, you know, your pieces are almost like canvases or photographs actually, that you don't photograph, but you take what you see and you put it on fabric. Do people know this?
Some people do, some people don't. That was the hard part about having my collection spread out in different states and in so many stores. You know, here in Raleigh at Crabtree, I got to be the opener for Kids Fest, which is a kids fashion show at Belk. And I got to talk about that. So my customer base here got to find that out, or if they watched My Carolina Today and saw that interview, they got to find that out. But people throughout don't know that. And when they do find that out, when they're standing there and I'm talking to them, I'm like, oh, yeah, that says my daughter's name. Or, you know, her name is Olive, and that's why the owl has olive eyes. And they're like, oh, my goodness, are you kidding me? Those are olives. You know, it's like finding those little elements of surprises throughout the collection has just been really cool to share that.
Why do you think that is so cool to people? Why do you think that that's part of the allure, I would say, of these pieces? Why do you think that there is that going on when they find that out?
I think part of it gives them a chance to maybe connect with their childhood, or maybe a relationship that they had with a grandmother or their mom. I think it gives them hope, maybe, that, you know what, I've always wanted to do this, but I'm not that creative person. It's like, you may not think you're a creative person. It just takes finding the right inspiration.
Well, you know, one of
my
the things,
daughter is what inspired me.
Your daughter, I know, and I actually, when I was posting to share what we were doing today, one of the things I kept posting was, you know, what is inspiring you? Because when you can figure out that thing that inspires you, whether it's a person, whether it's a situation, whether it's your vision, you know, you want, you know, all children in the world to have, you know, all, you know, low-income kids to have milk, then that's your, you know, then you'll stop at nothing to accomplish that. And I think that's really important, is that we can connect with something that inspires us to keep us going when the going gets rough, when we get rejected, when we get, you know, when something goes wrong, you know, when the machine breaks down. You know, what is that thing that keeps you going, that, you know, so you don't give up?
This is going to sound silly probably, but one of the things that has kind of given me the backbone and the strength is I'm I'm going to be honest, is theater. I did theater for years, and you go to auditions, and some of them you get a yes, and some of them you get a no, and some of them you get to be a player in that role instead of a lead. I've always been told what doesn't kill you, what doesn't break your back, makes you stronger, it makes you stand up taller, and gives you that confidence to push through. And that's kind of how I have to do it with this. I'm taking a gamble designing my own prints and creating these silhouettes and picking the colors that I chose. My colors definitely pop, and you can definitely see them from a distance, but that's what I wanted. I wanted something fun, not something dark. It was a spring and summer collection, so I wanted it to be light and airy. And I think knowing that there was a possibility of them saying no was like, you know what, if they say no, then it wasn't the right time. It wasn't meant to be. Something else will come along. And what a lot of people don't know is that I submitted a jewelry collection and a children's collection. I sent in the jewelry collection because I know how to design jewelry. I took classes in that. I learned the trade for years. I figured they were going to say no about the children's wear, and it was complete opposite. I got an email for us, it was Good Friday, and it said, thank you for your submission. We had a lot of submissions this year, and we're sorry it's not going to work out. Of course, I cried. I told my family it was what it was. And then I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and she said, hey, we're going up to the park. You should meet us up there. I was going to mope and not go, and then Olive said, Mom, I want to go. So we went up there, and we're sitting around, and my girlfriend, she didn't even bring it up. She knew it was going on. She didn't even bring it up. I go to check my phone, and there's an email sitting there, and it says, congratulations. You've been picked as a finalist in the Southern Designer Showcase. We love your style. We love your prints. We love how unique and fun it is. And I'm sitting here in shock because I just received an email saying no. Well, they said no to jewelry, but they said yes to what really inspired me. Not because I did something because I knew how to do it, but because my whole heart was in creating that collection that was inspired by my daughter and being raised in the South in North Carolina. And then my friend looks at me, and her mom pulls up, and her mom's like, today's, I think it's called the day of Nissan or Nissan. We're up at the synagogue playground. And when she said that to me, I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, everything happens for a reason. I received that email at the time for a reason. And I wasn't going to let the fact that they told me no get me down. But then something positive came after it. So people really need to understand you will get no's and you will get yeses, but you got to keep pushing through when you get those no's.
Yeah, I couldn't send it any better myself. And things that are worthwhile having don't always come easy.
No, they don't.
No, they really don't. I mean, we like them too. Maybe that something happens easy and then hard, then easy, then hard, but it's going to be a mix. And
it is.
Yeah.
I think
go ahead.
You want it to be that way. I really think that in order to know what it means to succeed, I think you kind of struggle a little bit. You need to know what it's like for the bottom to kind of fall out on you. You have to know what it's like to be exhausted and tired. Because if you're not exhausted and tired and the bottom hasn't fallen out, then you haven't gone through every level and every stage of success. I mean, you really kind of have to start at the bottom and work your way up. That's why it was important to me to know how to sew and how to know about picking colors and what works. So that I can share this story with people so they know, like, you can know nothing about it and then learn about it and work hard and fight and do it. It's possible.
Well, I personally think that one of the things that is intriguing about the line of clothing, and I think it's what will keep people continuously coming back for more, is knowing the story And I don't care whether it's on the label, like, I've seen, jewelry, for instance, that will have, the little description of where it's come from. And you get to feel like the designer because you know a little bit of their life. I personally think that if you have, I don't know how many pieces of clothing are in a particular line, but like the fabrics, I would suggest having something there. And I think that one of the things that people love is knowing that your garments were made with love. They could, it's yes, you making it for your daughter, and or you're making it about your daughter. And I think knowing that you're a person, and that you are a real live family, I think really makes a difference. And that is one of the things that is so apparent now when people listen to people's stories. When I started listening to people's stories, 12 years ago, it clicked with me about these stories and how relevant it was and how we could grow from the stories. But people weren't talking about stories as much as they are now. Everything is about a story. And you have a really good one, and I love how creative you're being, how you're seeing the world around you, and then you're kind of transposing that, I guess, into the fabric, like the bird on the Rosie olive branch. I think that's so cool. And I mean, seriously, I'm curious to know like what you're putting in next into your garments. Are you like family vacations, or as Rosie grows up, is the clothing going to follow her as it grows up? How are you going? I mean, what sizes now do you manufacture for?
Well, originally when I started out, I was kind of like, because like I said, she was like 15 months old when this started kind of coming into play. So by the time I actually sat down and made my first like full piece, like full dress, she was 18 months. So I was doing kind of like 18 months to like age 4, 5, like size 4, 5. And now that I've done bulk, and so many people have sent back messages, by any chance, where can we find this in 12 months? Or where can we find this in 9 months, or in size 13 or 14? And now the brand is evolving, and I'm adding newborn pieces to my collection. I'm adding some new pieces for bigger girls. Now I've got these fun little capelets that moms and daughters can coordinate in. I'm doing blazers for little boys with coordinating bow ties, and the mom can have a little matching capelet as well. We've got bibs and bonnets and bloomers and burp cloths, reusable lunch pouches. In fact, I have a set for your grandson.
Oh my gosh, you do?
Yes, I do. That's why I was kind of bummed that we didn't get to make the video connection, because I was going to show them to you. But yeah, I've got a little set of little reusable lunch pouches for him.
Oh my gosh, how great! Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
It's so crazy, just kind of how I was just doing these little simple ribbon tie dresses, and what I offer now is completely evolving. Halloween has been a huge success for us for the last 2 years. So we're in the middle of Halloween costume season right now. And that's really cool right there, just being able to make a little boy or girl's dreams come true, because I get some of the most random requests. I tell you, like I'm doing a bacon bit superhero costume right now.
So you'll do you'll do custom costumes as well? Yes.
All of our costumes. I do a few that are samples where it's like, we do Snow White, the Disney princess inspired ones, but then I like to have fun and do cute witches and superheroes and little ghosts or pumpkins, ladybugs. Pretty much the sky's kind of the limit.
Okay, so I have to interrupt. Okay, so I need to interrupt you. Okay, first of all, I'm sitting here thinking of Beanie Babies and how I can see you like retiring certain pieces. And I mean, I can imagine people will just go bonkers to know that, this, like, things are numbered. You know,
Yes.
like, is that how, are you doing that?
Yes, we do have limited runs that we do in certain things where I will, especially if it's a fabric that I've picked, because a lot of the fabrics I'm using now, if it's my fabric and my print, it was manufactured here in North Carolina through Spoonflower. And then if it's fabric that I'm using from Premier Fabrics, theirs is also sourced out of the USA. Their cotton is picked in Georgia, shipped to North Carolina. All the textiles are made in North Carolina and then shipped to Tupelo, Mississippi, to their huge warehouse where they do all the screen printing and textile and all the prints on the different textures of fabric. So all that is USA, 100% USA fabric as well. And I'll do limited runs, like do, only 15 dresses in this style with this print, and that'll be it. Mm-hmm. Or I'll do, 10 of these bonnets or these swaddles in this print and just do a limited run. That's part of what I love about still making stuff myself and having that connection with my customer and having it so that each piece is unique and handmade by my hand.
Every piece is made. No, wait. Not every piece is
not
made.
Not for bulk.
Okay.
For my custom, like outside of bulk, like anything that goes through, whether it's an order through Premier Fabric or Facebook or an email or a phone call or a text or, word of mouth on the street, all of those pieces are made by my hand. All of my costumes, I'm a one-woman show. All the costumes are made just by me, blazers, bibs, everything. And then my stuff for bulk was actually done through manufacturing overseas.
Now, why do you keep doing your custom work? I mean, I'm sure, running a business like you're running now, I mean, there's a lot of work involved in supporting Belk and, doing all of the paperwork and all of that stuff. Why do you, and designing and picking fabrics and designing fabrics, and why do you continuously then continue sewing?
How many people can you really walk up to and say, hey, did you actually make that? You can't really ask a lot of people that because they didn't make it. They don't know the first thing about getting a sewing machine started. So the fact that I can do that, I love that. I also love the example that I'm setting for my daughter. She's 4.5, and she's always asking her dad and I, like, when can I sit at the sewing machine and sew? Like, she actually helped me with making Halloween costumes, and she was learning about measurements and how many inches I may need something marked at. So for her, I'm teaching her about a good, strong work ethic. I'm teaching her about the possibilities in life. I'm also teaching her, just like educating her in math and the fashion industry and design and just different areas. And then also setting an example. One thing I want to get into down the road is like mentoring, especially for young boys and girls. Like, I wish I would have known when I was younger that this is what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to go about it. So I want to be able to say, hey, why don't you come over to my studio space and let's do a little tutorial, and maybe you can leave with an apron or a little bag or a pouch that you made. I want to be able to share my knowledge with people and share my story with people. I like talking to my customers, and, they may like the dress that I've got out there for sale right now, but they may want a ruffle instead of pleats. Well, the fact that I sew it myself, they can get ruffles instead of pleats, or they can get a flutter sleeve instead of a peasant sleeve. Those are things that they can't get from other brands. So I think that's why I still sew.
And so how big do you want to get?
Kind of want to conquer the children's fashion industry. Like, honestly, I feel like I can offer a lot. I eventually want to be able to start up some type of charity organization. I've been very inspired by, working with children. I come across a lot of stories. I ran a heart campaign because I know a teacher whose son actually passed away from a heart condition, and I know another little boy who had a heart transplant, and have encountered some other kids that have had either been born with holes in their hearts or just different stories. And it really has had a huge impact on me and what their families go through. So a few months ago, I got to run like a little campaign, and everything came with a heart on it that I stitched myself onto it by hand with a needle and thread. And then a portion of the proceeds went to that charity. And I also try to pick different charities throughout the year to donate to, whether it's a gift certificate to be auctioned off or an actual item of clothing from the line. But eventually I do want to start a nonprofit organization and have money available to go to these different, the American Heart Association or breast cancer awareness or children that are in horrible situations. It's such a huge goal of mine down the road to be able to do that, to have that success and get the business to grow. Well, so, and then leave this to Olive.
Yeah, what were you going to say? Say that one more time.
And then I want to be able to leave this to Olive and see where it kind of goes, like I want her input on what she thinks Mom should do next and see kind of where that takes us, know.
I think when you're on the perfect track. And when you're on a perfect track like this, where you are, giving and receiving, where you are spreading it, where you're sharing it, where you're learning and teaching, and you're covering all you're covering the whole, everything. So I would say that you can't help but be successful. That's why you're already successful, and you can't help but be successful, and you will continue to be successful. You got to be able to, anybody that's doing like something like what you're doing has to be able to match what they have to the growth. You have to be able to handle the growth. That's part of what happens with businesses when they don't do well, is they don't match the growth. But it appears like you have a lot of your ducks in a row, and you've already mastered so much. It's really quite impressive, to see how organized it is as well. I wanted to ask you, your husband is he involved as well? Is this a family business, or is this just yours and Olive's?
It is a family business. He is so funny. He, from the very beginning, he's always been like, oh yeah, he's like, I've always wanted to kind of do something creative. He's like, but I don't have, he's not good with coming up with the initial idea. He's good about making something evolve. So for instance, I do those little lunch pouches, the little reusable lunch pouches. And my girlfriend Courtney is like, oh, I love those. She's like, those are great. Her mom loved them. She's like, oh, look, these little travel chalkboard mats or whatever. I was like, ew, I need to go to the next level. I was like, what about chalkboard placemats to take into restaurants or the doctor's office or wherever? It rolls up, you got your little Velcro pouch, the chalk, but then you can flip it over and it's a placemat. So then he was like, oh, what about chalkboard snack pouches? So I'm like, huh? So I came up with a little prototype, and it's a little chalkboard flap, it flaps over and it's like, oh, you can write to your kid, Dad will pick up today, 3:45. Brush teeth after lunch, dentist at 4:15. Like, you can leave your kid a little note so when he she opens their lunch pouch at school, it's like, oh, perfect. Or a little I love you, or do well on the test. Or the kids might not like that you put celery sticks in their lunchbox. They might write in there, no celery tomorrow, whatever. But that was his idea, great. Make a little flap on there.
That's great.
And I was like, oh, I love that. So it's like things like, or for the Kate, he collects vintage skateboards. Mm. So he's making me buttons right now out of vintage skateboards. And he's using ones that are made in North Carolina. And he's making buttons for me for all my cakes.
That's great.
So
That's great.
It's fun being able to collaborate like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's so many creative ideas. And and when you can give people, carte blanche to create and without, stopping, I mean, it's fabulous. So let me also welcome anybody again that wants to call in. We'd love to have you. 919-518-9773. Take this opportunity to give us a call if you have a question, you're going through something, you want a little inspiration, give us a call. This is the place to come. Or you can connect with us on Skype, computers, that's plural, 2, number 2, K, voice. We'd love to have you. And here's an opportunity to ask some really good questions. So, take that. And after the show, we'll be posting things on MarilynShannon.com about the show. We'll have the video on YouTube. If you didn't, you want to go back and listen, you want to share it, by all means, please do that. So let me ask you some of the little, you tell me what you can tell me here, but getting started money-wise, how does that go? How does somebody get the money, investing? How do you start?
We did everything ourselves. So we're not even where we would like to be because it takes a lot of money. Like if I were going to manufacture my own collection to go into a department store, I mean, you're looking at double digits, thousands of dollars, like easily. So there are now different avenues. Like I know a lot of people use Kickstarter.com, where you offer good to each person that supports your company financially. So there you can make a donation of $5 or $100 or whatever, but in return, they will receive some type of manufactured good. It does cost a lot of money. You've got to be very good with it. So when you get money in for an item that you are going to sell, you got to turn that money right back around and put it right back into the business. It's not to go and live off of. It's to build that business so that you will be successful and have something to look at down the road and have growth.
So did you do a Kickstarter campaign?
I did not.
Okay.
And that's kind of like we're like in the midst of like going to that next step because, with Belk, that was a competition and they did manufacture and produce my collection for me. This next go around, that would be on us, plus all the liability in making children's clothing. Like that's all the way into like testing every button, making sure that there's no traces of lead in the buttons, making sure that anything that has a ribbon is a fixed ribbon and doesn't come undone, that it's cut, the dress is the right width. Like there's so much involved in it. So that costs money, making sure that all your stuff is safe and ready to go on racks.
I see. So they, because you won, they took care of the first, or how many seasons or lines did they help manufacture for you initially?
It was one complete season, and it'll run until January 31st of 2015, unless everything sells out before then.
Wow. So that's that's pretty cool. That's a good, sweet deal.
Yes, which is very nice because, like I said, it takes the liability and the risk off of my shoulders so that I can kind of learn that side of the industry a little bit more. But also when you're working and you're doing stuff with corporate businesses, you also see the backside of the industry and everybody's like, oh yeah, you're going to just be like a millionaire instantly. It does not work like that.
Right.
You have to make a lot of compromises and you have to say, okay, the numbers that I'm going to receive are going to be a lot lower than if I was doing this myself. They have to, obviously, you have to,
is that the famous?
That is Olive.
Olive. And Olive is how old is Olive?
She's 4.5.
She's 4.5. Would she like to say hello?
Olive, can you say hi?
Hi.
How are you, Olive?
Good.
So you love your mommy's clothing?
Yes.
How come, sweetheart?
Because I like my name on her clothes.
I would love it too if it had my name on it. You're a special young lady. You know that?
What do you say?
No.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I look forward to meeting you one day.
Say I look forward to meeting you as well. Can you say thank you?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I look forward to seeing you. And I look forward to taking a look at all of the beautiful clothing that your mommy is making.
She's so sweet. She, like I said, she definitely inspires me.
Let me ask you, I'm glad you just said that. What is it about her that was such an inspiration to you? Like, what is it like? I mean, I just had a new grandson. I have another new a grandson that's 2.5, and I look at them and oh my God, they just especially that 2.5-year-old now just cracks me up. But what is it about her that was such an inspiration for you to do this?
I would have to say, initially, Olive did not like to wear dresses. Like, it was like pulling teeth to get that little girl in a dress when she was, like under 2 and 2 years old. But it was just her personality. Like, she really is like a very sweet, very smart, articulate little girl. And when she would put something on and she wanted to wear it, her face would just light up. And it was like, wow. Or she would come and give me like the biggest hug, grinning ear to ear, and be like, oh, thank you, Mommy. I love it. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like kids are like some of the toughest critics because they kind of just tell you how it is. And let me tell you, she has stopped me from making some really bad fashion choices as far as like putting what and what together.
But you know what? Let me just say something for a second. I used to sell advertising years and years ago. And we, one of the things we knew was that to put, I sold TV, to put things on during the time the kids were on, right? Because parents would be watching. But now I was just thinking of you, and I'm thinking, well, who is going to be attracted to the clothing? But little kids too, they see something and they are attracted to go look at it, and they're walking in the store. And if you're putting together the clothing, kind of based on, let's say, how Rosie would see things to put together, other kids would be attracted to the same thing.
Yeah, like I said, Crabtree was amazing. They, the manager there was amazing. All the managers at Crabtree Belk are outstanding. And one of the things I was able to do was come in and dress the mannequins. I was fortunate enough to be aisle side in the big girls department as well as the little girls department. And I was fortunate enough to be right next to Lily Pulitzer and little girls and next to Jessica Simpson in the big girls department. So I had to make sure, like, oh, I get a mannequin that can be dressed. And so we would go in every couple of weeks, and I'd be like, Olive, what needs to go on the mannequin? And she'd go over and she'd pick out the outfit, and we'd walk over to the kids' shoe department, and I'm like, Olive, pick out some shoes. And then I started getting emails and pictures of people, and their girls are wearing dresses with, like, high-top sneakers or cowgirl boots. And I'm like, I love it. They're dressing how Olive dresses, so it's kind of cool. And that's kind of how, like, I go, okay, like, a dress needs to be this kind of cut and flow like this if it's going to be worn with a pair of cowgirl boots. That's kind of how she inspires me. Yeah, I might put combat boots or cowgirl boots with something, but is a kid going to wear that? And she does. She wears her clothes like that. She loves Hello Kitty high tops and little and my Rosie Olive dresses. And now it's like pulling teeth to even get her to put on pants. So it's kind of like, I didn't know where they were going originally. Like, I had leggings and bloomers and skirts in the initial collection that I presented to Belk. And then when all was said and done, it ended up being almost all dresses and then a couple of pair of shorts and a couple pair of just shirts to go with them. And she doesn't even touch the shorts. She's all about the dresses. She's all about the skirts. And that's kind of like what the line is about. It's about girls being able to go outside and dig in the mud in their Rosie olive dress, because guess what? You can throw it in the washing machine, and then you can throw it in the dryer.
It's so interesting to listen to this because, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, when a writer, an author is writing a novel, they don't start off knowing, every character from soup to nuts. They start off with a character, the character changes, and then all of a sudden they're inspired to bring in another character, and all of these things just kind of happen. And I can see that in your design. And I want to impress upon people that, to keep in mind the depth of what we're talking about. It's not, and with everything that you all do, anything that you have an opportunity to do, don't be afraid to go deep. Don't be afraid to go deep. Even in manufacturing, right? Or paint, anything. Don't be, right? Okay, I want you to tell me what you think, because I know you got something to say about it.
You really do have to kind of push the envelope, and you kind of have to go, okay, what would happen if I do this? What would happen if I take this extra step? During this competition, I walked downstairs into the sunroom, and it had flooded. My fabric had just arrived. I was absolutely devastated. I'm like, I've got 3 weeks to get all of this done. My in-laws came and took Olive for a couple of days for me, and I sewed for 3 days. Sewed every single piece in 3 days, photographed it, had them blown up, sent in my application, and meanwhile, I had all my jewelry stuff finished. This was the clothing stuff, the stuff that I don't know inside and out. And I pushed myself. I had never made bloomers. I had never made shorts. All I had made at the time were ribbon tie dresses and one pair of shorts that were a custom order at the time. When I submitted that collection to Belk, it was dresses with sleeves, ribbon tie dresses, bloomers, accessories like belts and fun accessories for the hair, interchangeable pieces that can grow with the child. I really had to push myself. And I literally would take Olive's clothes and cut them apart so I could get all the measurements. And then I sat there and I'd sew it. I'd fit them on the different mannequins. I had live models. I had parents that were nice enough to let their kids come over and be my live models for the lookbook. I literally was taking a gamble. All of this was new territory to me. So really, you kind of just have to dig at it and push and challenge yourself and believe in yourself.
I want to ask you, I do know about a lookbook, but I want to ask you, just give us a range of what is a good starting figure to have when you're investing in your own business like this. And you don't have to be exact with what you did, but just give us a range.
If you're going to design the pieces and come up with and be ordering the fabrics in bulk and get all the materials and the machines necessary, and get into manufacturing, a good range is probably about $50,000 plus, because when you're getting into manufacturing, and this is overseas pricing because nobody does small cuts. That's the other thing, is when you're going to get into manufacturing, if you're going to do overseas, and there's a difference between obviously overseas and stateside. Overseas, a small cut is 2,000 yards or 2,000 dresses or 2,000 shirts or 2,000 of each fabric or of each design is what they're asking you for. And that's going to be your minimum order. Stateside, a minimum is usually between 500 and 1,000 yards of fabric, or 500 and 1,000 dresses or shirts or shorts. And so when you're looking at, if you're going to do a collection and you need 6,500 pieces total, you're going to be looking around the ballpark of $50,000 plus to have it manufactured, shipped, because shipping is very expensive. Even stateside shipping, a full collection is expensive. So going overseas where it has to go from a plane to boat to land, it gets up there.
So let's say, okay, so now you're in Belk's and you're also doing some other, your personal designing and for friends. And so let's assume Belk's is continuing with you. right?
I was asked to come back, and right now we're trying to figure out how we're going to go about the manufacturing and basically the financial end of getting a full collection, because they are looking for a full collection for next spring or possibly next fall. So I've got the prints and the silhouettes and all that stuff done, but it's trying to find manufacturing that's going to fall in the same price range of what was just in there.
But you're not stopping.
No, not stopping. I'm going to keep on going. And we just said if we have to do it ourselves and do small runs, then we'll have to do it ourselves. But right now, while I've got the momentum and I've got the followers and I've got the fans and the people that love hearing the success story behind me, we've got to keep going.
What about Shark Tank?
We have talked about that and looked into that. And I was like, gosh, it's getting into the whole reality TV thing and going into that casting and that audition. And I don't want to go in there and sell a facade or fake me. Like, they need to like me and like my product for what I present to them. Mm-hmm. Not because I can go in there and wink at the camera or say what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of threw me off. I didn't realize that it was like they go in and they cast people based on how they do it in an audition. I thought it was just solely based on numbers.
Yeah, well, it's based on advertising sales, I guess. So
yes.
For the show. So let's say, for instance, well, I don't even want to say that. So let's say you get exactly what you want with Belks, mm-hmm. or maybe with another department store. I mean, mm-hmm. you're going to keep on. I mean, you're selling your products and expanding your line, and no matter what, you're just going to keep on going.
Yes. Yeah, because, eventually, like, I want this to, when you design your own prints, the possibilities are endless. Like, I want to get into doing some little invitations. So I do birthday party outfits, and I do the banners for birthday parties and the party hats and all that stuff. Eventually, I want to get into having the invitations and the thank you notes and the little napkins and the tablecloths, all of that stuff to make the birthday parties come to life. Because all the prints in my collection are interchangeable. And they all kind of mix and match with one another. The colors are all kind of interchangeable and playful. So with me having my own prints, my own textiles, I can do so much. I want to have umbrellas and rain boots and raincoats and lunch boxes and.
So are you looking for investors, or you want to keep it to yourself?
Oh yeah,
you're looking for.
No,
investors.
We are looking for investors because we have something that we believe in, and that obviously our customers. I have a large portion of my customers are return customers, mm-hmm. Which is I feel like says a lot about a brand and a business when somebody doesn't just order one dress from you, they order 6 or 7 dresses, or you get the Christmas card or the card that they send out at Hanukkah, and it's in the family photos, all the little boys in bow ties, or the mom and daughter in matching skirts. Like, that's a picture they're going to put out in their family for the rest of their lives. Like, that's something that little girl will say, Mom, or say to her daughter, I wore this dress when I was your age, and now you're wearing it. When I have marvelous. Stuff that just to know that I'm a part of creating memories is the coolest thing. So if I can do that with everything and be a part of people's lives, putting smiles on their faces, creating these memories and these stills, I want to do that.
Well, I think that's the attraction, that it's kind of alive. I mean, these garments have life to them. And I think that's I think that's a big selling and marketing strategy for you, is the fact that, they are really inspired by your daughter, by your life, by memories. And I think that's cool. And I think that's what will attract people. So we're going to be almost running out of time. So would you?
All right.
Oh, yeah. So just tell everybody where they find you, your website, that kind of good stuff.
We get a lot of business on Facebook. It's Rosie Olive Designs on Facebook, or L. Parkinson on Facebook. We also have a Big Cartel page. It's rosieolivedesigns.bigcartel.com. And we are currently updating our website with Halloween costumes, all of our new pieces that we're adding in for Rosie Olive Designs, and then getting ready to launch boys for late fall, winter. So lots of new stuff coming up on our website, and I'm also on Twitter and Instagram as well.
Perfect. And I think it's really, I mean, listen, I have boys. I used to have just girls. Now I have just boys. And it's really hard to find really cute clothing sometimes for boys. I mean, it's really easy to find it for the girls, but the boys are not so easy. So
yeah, and everybody thinks that boys have to be in these dark, muted colors, and it's like, no, you can put boys in nice, fun stuff. And that's what it's basically. It's going to be the same aesthetic with the fun mix of the prints together, but it'll be for boys, something fun and fresh.
Perfect, because I got a grandson that's a stud. So anyway, I do want.
Congratulations!
What'd you say? I'm sorry. Say that again.
I said congratulations on the new edition.
Thank you. And so I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, it's been a real pleasure to have you and to have a glimpse into your life and what you're doing, and to also get a chance to have met your daughter is precious. And once again, you're very welcome. I want to express to everyone, I really think it's the depth behind what you do, and that you let people know that makes a difference between buying your product and maybe something else, or not buying any product. I mean, I think it's the depth of what you do that allows people to connect with you as a person, and that makes it more appetizing for them to want to do business with you, buy from you, learn from you, share with you, connect with you on multiple levels. Now keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to bring in something different, because that's what people are, right? Would you say that, Elle?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's really important. And keep doing it. And by all means, write to me anytime you have an inspiring idea, something you've worked on, you want to connect with someone. I'd love to be there to help support you in that. You can write me. You'll see my name above my head. Click on that, Marilyn at reenchant, REENCHANT, planetearth.com. And Elle, give your email address again.
It is Rosie, ROSIE, Olive, OLIVE, Designs, DESIGNS, @gmail.com.
Perfect. And I am sure that if you have any questions, she's the lady to ask. She's going through it.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean, exactly. And that's what freedom is. That's how, you learn yours, I learn mine. We come together, we share our lessons, and we all get big, and we all break free, and we all experience, a world where it's up to us, not up to somebody else. So thank you, Elle, for being here today. You've been a pleasure, a great interview. Thank you so much. Great chatting with you. My pleasure. And everybody out there, have a super duper week, and we will see you all next week. Bye.
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 You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. That VidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.